organization, and it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to today's TUG Connects 365 webinar from the folks at Phocas that's titled Advance with Financial Data for Distribution. So without any further ado, I am going to turn the screen over to Christine. And Christine, I will verify as soon as you allow permission to see your screen that we have you in our viewfinder. And then Kristen Valentine is going to be taking over as the panelist from this point forward as we transition. So again, welcome. Go ahead and take it away, Kristen.
Thank you very much, Gloria, and thank you everybody for attending. We actually did do a subset because what we really think you guys are primarily interested in is financial statements, and that is output, KPIs, data that consolidates everything into one place. And so we just kind of renamed it financial statements for distributors because we really want to get quickly to the heart of the matter. And it is important to note that it's obviously analytics for the full range of all of you distributors, depending on whatever you're using. We wanted you to feel comfortable that Phocas covers Sx.e, CloudSuite distribution, Fax, A+, and CloudSuite field service. Next slide. So before we get too far, this would be great.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to move something and it launched the poll. Is this a good time, I guess, to ask this question? I apologize.
It's a great time to ask this question. So for the group, do you have multiple sources that you consolidate for your financial information? Just a quick and easy yes, no, and we'll move on. But yeah, this would be really helpful information for us.
We have about 30%, 50% now of people voting. So if you want to jump on and give us your answers, we'd like to try to bump this to about an 80% response level, which would be very helpful to our presenters in understanding our audience. I'll give it another few seconds and then I will close the poll. It looks like we have about a 59% response ratio. So I'm going to close the poll and there are your results.
So terrific. This is why we did actually create financial statements. So yay, nice to know. And we're glad that this presentation is going to be really valuable for you. So I wanted to take a minute and introduce the team. I may have met you in many occasions. I actually was with Progress when it was Nextrend, Daily.commerce, and Appearum. So I have been around the distribution market for a long time, both with Progress, and then I was with Infor for 7 years. So I wanted to kind of give you my background so that you understand that I understand your world and understand the kind of options that are in front of you and the challenges thereof. And one of the things I just love about Phocas is Phocas is all about saying what they're going to do and doing what they're going to say, and just having a really solid workhorse that you can get behind, that you can trust. So that's me. We have Christine Martin, who is our I'd love to say she's a certified accountant, but everything short of an accountant. And she's actually going to take you through the business pains today and talk about kind of why, and maybe you'll recognize your own scenarios in some of the content that Christine is going to cover. And then, of course, John is going to show you the product of our new financial statements. I will also, you may or may not have seen us at TUG. So some of this information is going to be repetitive. But in the same respect, we also want to make sure, in case this is your first interaction with Phocas, you have a chance to get to know us a little bit more. So we're going to cover Phocas, and that's the repetitive information that may be repetitive or may be new. Christine's going to cover the challenge of today's financial reporting, and then the specifics, and then we'll move into the demo, and then of course take time for question and answer. Next slide. So for those of you who may be new to Phocas, we at a core level believe that access to data to make great decisions should be available for anybody and everybody. So that's why consistently we get exceptionally high marks for ease of use as well as user adoption. And user adoption is just goodness because that's value to you. You're getting return on investment, but more importantly, everybody has access to make good decisions, so you're making the best and the smartest decisions. And obviously I can torture you with all the data that supports that, But the key thing is that's really how we differentiate in the market. It's just this incredibly easy to use product. We've got over, if you haven't heard of us before, we've got over 3,000 customers, 50,000 users. We've been in business for 19 years, always profitable. And you know, we're going to talk a little bit more about the analyze anything and everything. Next slide. So this slide I love. It's not only ridiculously simple, but it is our core philosophy. We want people, everybody, and that is a unique thing about Phocas, is that anybody from IT to an individual user to the CFO to anybody can actually analyze data with clicks that John's going to show you. And that's very, very important because that's core to our philosophy. And then because you are analyzing, you can make great, relevant, current, fast decisions, and then you can act quickly. And obviously, we've all been probably talked to death in regards to COVID and the challenges of the need to act quickly, but it is really more now than ever. Immediate access to the data to make good, smart decisions so you can be responsive to your market has never been more important. Next slide. And that's how our products that we have today for distribution really play in that. So we've talked about this. We're going to cover financial statements, but we just wanted to make sure that you all know we have rebates and commissions, and rebates and commissions specifically includes near miss, which could be a huge differentiator for you. You may have seen our presentation at TUG on rebates and commissions, but it's just a great product in not only helping with suppliers and vendor consolidation, but also to that near miss functionality. And we're coming out with budgets and forecasting. And this is what I just love about Phocas, right? Financial statements, our GA was May for our first ERP platform. We were telling everybody that, for all the rest of the platforms, it would be available in September, but Phocas always delivers before and early, and it's good. So we've actually been able to launch financial statements for, CloudSuite distribution, fax, everything, 3 months early. When do you ever hear about that? And that's just why I just love being with Phocas. And then, so I do tee you up for budgets and forecasts because it's coming. We say it's going to be Q4, but watch, it might actually be sooner. So how do we let you drive your good decisions with data and getting access to that data and pulling that data? And we have several ways that we do that. First and foremost, as far as I'm aware, only Phocas has over 200 data sources. And not only does that include some point products that you're using within the Infor community, but it also is third-party products. Our competitor, with Tour de Force, we actually do even integrate with MITS, but we also integrate with almost every ERP, and we don't charge for that. That is a really unique point. So you can literally, depending on what you need to analyze and consolidate, you can pull that data source. So if you have disparate financials, financial systems, you can pull the data in. As we know, because we have been providing analytics and we're a strong analytic offering, we've been providing out-of-the-box content, for our entire 19 years. And we've covered kind of our core principles of analyze everything, cost-effective, ease of use, and that then brings you down to our full product suite. We are not just an analytics company. We're rebates and commissions, we're financial statements, budgeting and forecasting, again, coming in Q4. But there's a lot of ways you can grow with Phocas. And so once you take the time to learn it, which by the way, can be done in hours, maybe a day and a half, it's an investment that you can continue to grow with as your company grows. Next slide. It's a build. So then as you see, we get to the data source piece, which here is kind of the Infor distribution environment on the bottom, all funneling through our CSD connector. And again, as I mentioned, any ERP, obviously being at Infor, I would cringe if we put some of our third parties on there. If we put some of our competitors on there. But when I say any ERP, that is Oracle, SAP, Epicor, NetSuite. And again, you may not have a mixed mode environment, or your company could be acquired by one that's got one of those as a corporate standard, and you're going to stay with Infor at your division. Best in class point solutions you might want to pull in. And the key thing is we do not charge for any and all of that. And I know it might be a little tenuous grounds to talk about the integration of CloudSuite distribution and field service, but again, we integrate to both and there's no additional charge. So if you are one of those customers that has opted to add CloudSuite field service, Phocas will just continue to run, and it's an additional, and there's no additional charge to that. So where I understand with Burst, for example, they would charge for CloudSuite distribution and CloudSuite field service. So that's kind of a really nice differentiator. Again, empowering you guys with tools, access, etc., and kind of putting you guys in the driver's seat. Next slide. I think now is when I turn it over to Christine, who is our certified expert and knows your pain on a daily basis. Christine?
Thanks, Kristen. So I want to introduce myself and give you guys a little bit about my background. I spent 20 years in industry at companies like Marriott headquarters, at Rock10, now known as Mead Rock, a paper manufacturer, before I made the jump. And I actually was working for 12 years as a solutions consultant for another Infor partner, Avalara. I was there for 12 years, helping customers just like you with solutions. And almost a year ago, I joined the Phocas team, following my old boss, Jay Dubler, who is the North American president here at Phocas. So let's talk about financial statements and this traditional financial reporting. So in my world that I lived in, we had all of these people that fed information, which then funneled up to our CFOs. That may have been division controllers. It may have been other organizations within those divisions. It may have even been specific stores that we had that all fed financial information up to a controller. The controllers consolidated all of this information and then fed it up to the CFO. The CFO then always had questions for us. Explain this. Tell me why there's a variance here. Can you tell me a little bit more about this? We seem to be behind here. And that information then funneled back down to the groups to get information. So to us, we're here at Phocas trying to make things a little bit simpler. So when we look at this modern approach to financial reporting, think about all of these outside bubbles as these groups that are feeding in information to an ERP. That ERP may be Infor, it may be something completely different. I know as part of Avalara, we acquired companies, and those companies weren't on the same ERP that we had. Well, we had to then gather this information from all kinds of sources to be able to create a set of financial statements for our board and for our investors as well. So all these people across your entire organization are feeding in information to an ERP or multiple ERPs. That information is then consolidated and maybe given back out to general managers, to sales managers, to branch managers for them to look at things and maybe make some changes before it all feeds up. So what we've done here at Phocas is we've given people the ability to use whatever ERP systems they need and what they currently have and feed all of that information into a single source. So for us, Phocas is the single source of truth that regardless of where the data is coming from, I can create financial statements. And John's going to show you here in a little bit how you can slice and dice and look at that information in those financial statements. I know one of the questions that we had, a poll question that we had, was around using Excel, right? How many people are using Excel? Back in the day when I was in industry, Excel was our lifeline. We would extract data, put it into Excel, and that's what we were using for our financial statements. But if somebody had to make a change, we then had to go through that process all over again. So we're trying to make this easier, that you're not having to recreate the wheel over and over and over again when things are changed within your ERP. You've got this single source of truth within Phocas that you can easily get to information. So let's talk about how we do this. So first, and what John's going to show you here shortly, is we give you the ability to customize what your financial statements will look like. I know I've talked to a couple private equity firms, and all of their companies within their portfolio, they get financial statements a little bit differently from each one. Well, this PE firm said, gosh, it would be really nice if everybody's financial statements came the same way. It would be much easier for us. So with them using the Phocas solution for financial statements, they can create a P&L template, if you will, that has all kinds of calculations within there. And then every single company within that PE firm then submits their financial statements exactly the same. So with Phocas financial statements, we give you the ability to customize what that financial statement may look like. And the beauty of it is you can have multiple versions of that financial statement. You may have a P&L that relates specifically to the PE firm, but maybe your board wants to see a P&L a little bit differently. So you've got the ability to create P&L 1 and P&L 2. Granted, the numbers are all the same and it gives you the same result, but visually it looks different. So once you've created this template, then you've got this analyzation piece, right? All of the data from your sources, again, from Infor maybe. All of this data from Infor is coming into Phocas, and we're displaying that information in your customized template. And it may be that you're comparing this year to last year, this year to budget, whatever it may be. And maybe you've categorized things a specific way to be able to see it. But in this analyze function, you can actually drill down and see, why are these numbers so high? I can see all of the information that relates to that. I can see an invoice number. I can see a customer information without having to get out of Excel, go back into my ERP to figure out what makes up those numbers. It really makes the analyzation piece much easier. One of the things that we heard from the PE firm was, hey, we're sending out all of these questions all the time to these companies, and they're getting really frustrated with us because they're having to pull this information. Well, you can give somebody at another level the ability to drill down and look at and see what those numbers are without having to bother anybody else. So you can analyze these financial statements, drill down into the details, but then we also give you the ability to have these visualizations. So think of it as a dashboard, that you've got a financial statement dashboard that will give you all of the information that you want to see quick and easy. Maybe that's something that you share with your board, that they can log in through a hyperlink and see all of this financial information at the blink of an eye without having to dig through the financial statements, without having to look at different versions of financial statements. This is the most updated one based on information within your general ledger. And Kristen, did we have a polling question for here too?
I thought so, yes.
We do. Do you want me to go ahead and launch that second part to the first question of multiple sources for reporting now?
Yes, please.
We had a 59% response with people saying that yes, they do have multiple sources. So if you can respond and let us know if you have 1 to 3 places you're pulling from, 3 to 5, or more than 5. We're going to let it go a number of seconds more. So far we have a 17% vote. I'll let a few more seconds roll by here.
So while everybody's
some
doing that, you know what, my belief is that with everything that's going on with our economy, I think we're going to start to see some contraction, that distributors that may have been struggling are going to be acquired by people that are doing quite well. And this is where we're going to come to this instance where we've got multiple ERPs, and how do I create financial statements in a consolidated fashion that isn't going to take me forever? So I
Christine,
think
I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and close this. Sorry.
Oh,
I just closed the poll because we had more than a minute. We weren't populating anymore. I apologize.
perfect.
Quite all right.
That's great.
So I've talked about Excel. I'm an accountant. I love Excel. I could do VLOOKUPs and macros and pivot tables all day long. But if I don't have to constantly extract data and then recreate these things over again, it would make my life much easier. And that's really what we're trying to do with Phocas with the financial statements. This is something that people cannot go into Phocas and make changes. It is an unemotional display of data that takes data from its source and then displays it. Remember, you can customize how you want those financial statements to look, and then you can drill down. But to me, it's really this unemotional state, because I can't change the numbers, you can't change the numbers. The numbers are the numbers, and it comes from your system. So if somebody fat fingers it and hits a 7 instead of a 4, that changes your financial statements altogether. That's not possible when it's all coming from this tool itself. So one of the big questions that we've heard from our customers is, what about security and control? Well, that's kind of the beauty of the Phocas solution, is you can allow specific users or even specific roles access to financial statements, give them access to specific databases of data. That's all managed by your administrators. Not everybody that logs into Phocas has access to financial statements. Not every branch manager may have access to everybody's P&L. They may only have access to theirs. So that security and that control is actually held within the Phocas solution, and the administrators control who has access to it. So with that, I'm going to pass this off to John Sefton, and John's going to give you a demonstration of the Phocas financial statements. And keep in mind that the financial statement piece is held within the Phocas solution itself. So these visualizations, these databases, financial statements are all within one umbrella, if you will.
All right, thanks, Christine. Hi, everyone. My name's John Sefton, Solutions Consultant here at Phocas Software, and really excited to show you our financial statements product today. For those of you who hadn't seen Phocas before, the dimensions down the left-hand side are one of the first things that you're going to use when using the product. And you can think of each one of these buttons essentially as a report. So if I click on account, I'm going to see GL postings by period by account. And I can use these dimensions to look at these GL postings in a number of different ways. So maybe country. Country could be company, it could be location. And if I wanted to, I could focus in on a particular country, focus, come back to accounts, and now everything's filtered just for GL postings that have happened in the US. So if you haven't seen Phocas before, that's how our dimensions work. And what we do during the implementation process is we work with you to categorize each one of these accounts. So if I go to category, I'm going to see a list of categories, and if I selected one, let's say operating expenses, and focus, I can come back to my account and see all of my accounts that are categorized as operating expenses. So that's initially the first thing we're going to do when we're implementing you, is we're going to work with you to categorize each one of your accounts. And a lot of what our product does makes that categorization process easier. So I'm going to spend some time showing you how that works. Once we have everything categorized, I'm going to click on the summary button, and I get a view that looks like a P&L. I have multiple different financial statements available, but I'm going to primarily be using the P&L statement. What's happening here is all my accounts are grouped by the category that I've assigned to them. So if I expand my operating expenses, I'm going to see all the GL accounts that are categorized that way. So this view that we have gives us a P&L type view where we get numbers for the current year, numbers from the previous year, and I have a third column, which is budget data that I've created in Excel and brought in as a different data source. One of the nice things about Phocas is that it's an open platform that you're going to be able to sync data from your various systems. So if you have multiple ERPs, multiple companies, each company is going to sync data to this same cloud location. And by default, we're looking at a consolidation of all the postings from my different sources. A couple of things we can do is country, which try to imagine it could be company, it could be location, warehouse. We have 3 companies here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 3 companies and then hit matrix, which is an easy way to do a pivot of your data. What we've done is we've changed your rows into column headers. Now, if I come back to my summary button, I'm going to see a P&L for each of my companies. So here's my total P&L for all companies, and then UK, Australia, and finally the US. So I can easily make P&Ls for each one of my locations. Or if I wanted to, I could just focus on a single location and then come back to summary, and now I have a US P&L. If I wanted to, I could save this as a favorite and subscribe my US branch managers to it, where they receive this via email and an Excel sheet automatically on a schedule. The nice thing about this view is that anytime I want, I can export it to Excel. And what's nice is that it's going to maintain all of the formatting that I see from within the application. So all my groupings, and it even brings over formulas. So if I wanted to do some what if type budgeting analysis, I could use this spreadsheet to do that. Now, if you're okay with having a consolidated P&L, some other things we can do is I can drag up my country button and drop it. Now I'm going to see my postings categorized by country, if that's maybe the way I want to see it. But it doesn't stop there. I'm able to group on 2 more levels, and that's where these buttons start to come into play. By default, you're going to have account, category, classification, and subcategory. These are just always there. But department and cost center were added later. Maybe as a CFO, I want to group accounts by department. So maybe marketing might have several accounts that I want grouped as one. So I have the ability to create this button and then assign accounts to it, which I'm going to show you here momentarily. So I'm going to drag department up, drop it right here. Now I'm going to see not only my postings grouped by country, but also by department. So US, and then I see my different departments. What's nice about the way our budgets are created is it's by account, by period. So if I'm looking at 12 months or I'm looking at 3 months, my budget's going to adjust accordingly. So if I open up, see my US recruiting or marketing budget, I can see my budget's 249, and I'm at, or 242, and I'm at 249 for a $7,000 difference versus budget. So the front end of Phocas is meant to be intuitive. It's meant to be easy to work with. We can make these changes on the fly, and anytime I want, save them as a favorite. But I want to show you how we create these categories and how we assign accounts to it. There's a function up here called statements. And when I open that, it shows me all the financial statements for my organization. If I click the mode button here, I would see these values. Notice I have a button that says new. And what this does is it allows me to create a new statement. So I can essentially I can have multiple versions of a P&L. One might be for my branch managers, one might be for my owners, another might be for my board of directors. I can have multiple versions of a P&L depending on who my audience is. But instead of creating a new one, let's go ahead and edit an existing one. So I'm going to click on P&L here, and it's going to open up a form that lets me change the layout of my P&L. First of all, I can move my categories up or down. I can delete categories. I can even rename categories. Maybe I want to call this revenue instead of sales. So I can make simple changes like that. However, I can create additional groups. So maybe I want to create a new group here called sales from product. And I'm going to drag this up. And I'm going to change this to sales from service. Maybe I want it broken out that way. And now that I've created a new variable M, I need to add it to my formulas here. So I have complete control over the layout of this form. Not only can I create new groups, but I can create new calculations that use these groups. So a couple of things have happened. I've added a new group here. Let's now come to the accounts button here to assign accounts to that group. Okay, so here I have some tools up at the top. I can search by name or account number, so I can find my marketing, or maybe I want to look at for a particular account number. I can do that. I can look for ranges of accounts, and I can even hide accounts that are mapped. So maybe I just want to focus on any accounts that are unmapped. So I've added a new group, sales from product and sales from service. So let's go ahead and change those mappings. So I'm going to click on sales here. And right now it's sales from service. I'm going to change it for sales from product. And now I've updated that category on that account. Now, before this tool was out, our Phocas services people had to do this work. And what just took me 10 seconds to do used to be a very technical task that would take hours to do. But now our whole purpose of building this out is to enable CFOs to do this type of work without having to rely on Phocas services or IT people at their company. So this is how the category here is what we're seeing on my P&L. But remember, I mentioned we could add two buttons to that screen, department and cost center. And I'm going to back out so you can see this. All right, right here, department and cost center. These are two that have been added after the fact, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Right here, plus sign, it's creating a new button, which is called a dimension. So I'll call it a business unit and click OK. Now I've added a new dimension that I can assign values to. So I could select a range of accounts, enter in business unit Southwest. Hit enter. Now I've tagged all those accounts as the Southwest business unit. So in summary, this screen allows me to not only assign accounts to my top level categories of my P&L, but I can also create subcategories of my P&L where I want to group accounts by department, cost center, and business units. When I save this and then close, it's going to detect a change in the P&L and in the layout of the financial statement. So it's going to prompt me to rebuild the database, which again used to be a technical task that we've simplified to just a button click. So yes, I click that. Now the database is building in the background. It'll take a few minutes to finish, but when it's done, we're going to have a new button here called Business Unit that we could then use as another grouping level on our P&L. So that's a high-level overview of our financial statements product. I hope you found that valuable. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Now for questions.
John, could you show that also in the graphical view? Pardon me.
Sure. Come down to my account, switch to chart mode, and then we're off and running making charts that we can add directly to a dashboard from the screen. The idea with our visualizations is that we want business users to be able to do this. We don't want to make it overly technical or difficult to do. The idea is that we can create it right from this grid, add them straight to our dashboard where anybody can do that.
And you can drill down into the dashboards as well. So if somebody is just working off the dashboard view, they can drill right into it.
You know, that's a good point, Kristen, and I completely missed that one. So let me back that up a bit, is that one of the really strong features of our product is that our numbers are not a mystery. So whenever I'm implementing customers, I might be working with them to validate numbers. Any number on this screen, so June for wages, if I right-click on that number and go to transactions, it takes me to all the individual GL postings that made up that total. So I'm always able to get to the transaction layer of my number. So I can run a ledger posting report for June for this account, and we should get these exact journal postings. So we can always tie our numbers back to the ERP very, very easily. And I know some CFOs, when I've shown that before, them to be able to, any button, any number, to be able to right click on any number and go to transactions and get the individual postings that made up that total. I know a lot of customers have loved that function as just by itself.
Did somebody else also have a question before I jumped in? Pardon me.
Yes, the first question that was posed is, what does this software product cost?
For 2 users, it's $6,000 a year. And then, pardon me, if you want to move back to the slide, are there more, before we move back to the PowerPoint, and we can open up to the group, because all this is real time. And so, you know, if anybody's got a question or they want to see something or kind of, you know, play if, you know, can I, before we move off of the live demo, ask John anything. He can, you'll be surprised at how quickly he can, you know, get the view that you'd like. If anybody wants to, I hate to say it, but kind of play stump the chump, because it's almost impossible to. So go ahead and if anyone wants to throw out a visual they want to see or a data source they want to see, feel free.
We do have a question, another question that was posted on the heels of pricing is, what, we are on Sx.e, can this be a real-time report?
Yes.
So Yes, the data can be updated very frequently. It's not quote unquote real time. However, it's going to be. Okay, we are actively working on making this financial statements product. As soon as a posting's made, it's going to show up in this system. Right now, we have to kick off a process to update the data. It's pretty straightforward, just a button click. A lot of our customers run it very frequently during month-end closing.
And the next question is, how long is implementation?
The implementation is a week because it's obviously really not complicated. And what we're seeing is it's, actually installing it and implementing it is like a fraction of the time. It's actually training you on how to use it. So you could actually purchase it today and be making it, in time for even June's month close, or if that's your year-end close. It is very, very easy to use and to learn, but yeah, it's just roughly a week.
Okay. And the next question is, how does this compare to Infor's offering with their Burst product?
That's actually a question. So from what we understand, Burst is really still pulling F9. And what we feel really strongly about, but we're definitely open to your feedback of people who sat in that session at TUG, love to get smarter. So I'm not saying I'm the first and last source, but the long and the short of it is this is truly financial statements that allows you to be able to do that consolidation and that manipulation, just about real time, where it looks like F9 is still kind of what's linking to Burst for the financial statement content, which then it means again you've got multiple products and then you're back to adding that complexity. Just so you know, Phocas can pull from F9 if you are using F9, but the point being, depending on how you use it, or if people don't want to give up their pet product. Hey, when I was with Infor, F9 was really popular. People just loved it. So my point being is if they love it, we can work with it, but this can also replace that. But you can see how much more this is than even just F9.
Okay. Yeah, and so the question that populated as a result of that F9 remark is, so this is a replacement for F9?
Yes, you can replace it. Yes. And I want to be sensitive. And if you want to continue to use it, or you have people who do continue to use it, that information can be rolled in. And the reason I say that, and again, I'm going to talk to my Infor manufacturing, but we had, so often, you might have your company standard, but you have all this departmental activity that no matter how much you say this is the corporate standard, you always have these people kind of doing their own little gig on the side. So yes, this would be a replacement to F9, but the key thing is, if you can't get people off of F9, not a problem. Make sense? We can still work with that information that you're using, because we all love our pet applications. We all have them. We all love them.
And the next question is sort of a multi-part question. It says, how is user access controlled at the user level, or can user be restricted to see only certain parts of the financial statement?
John, do you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. The users, there's a data restriction that we can set up at the user level that would filter just to what we want them to see. Maybe just their location, or maybe just the account they're responsible for. We can definitely do that.
And what is so great about Phocas is, so if you notice, the department category is now on the left-hand side. So that is done, and that was done while we were talking. And this is a great example of the power of Phocas. You can all be on a conference call like this, decide both the information you're consolidating and what you want to look at dynamically. And as John mentioned, then those views can be shared dynamically. And so depending on how you license it, we have, the two users that I mentioned are the full users, but we also have view only. So if you want certain people within your organization just to get the results and not be able to do the manipulation, we also have a view only license that's significantly less. We sell them in blocks of 10, and that's $150 a month.
And it says, can this tool, and if yes, how, can we use this to help us with analyzing costs to serve at the customer level, i.e. drive customer profitability?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we all need to understand which customers do we want to focus on more, right? And, you know, we were working with one customer that they raised the price, and what they didn't realize, and sales remained flat, but what they didn't realize is where they had maybe more volume, their biggest customer actually stopped selling it because the price was too high. And that's the kind of stuff that we want to be able to look at. So absolutely, you can set up the parameter to do exactly that and analyze and pull in whether it's a supplier, right? Do you want to continue working with that supplier? Also, too, our rebates and commissions product helps with that, as I mentioned earlier. But you can pull in whatever category, subcategory, really whatever you want to pull in to analyze. And the other thing too is if you even to the month measurement. So let's say you do roll out a new price with a new customer, you can see month to month how that's tracking in early stages, so you get immediate feedback to say, oh, maybe this price is too high, or maybe this new product isn't as effective, or maybe it's taking us longer to sell this new product than we thought. So yeah, there's a lot of analysis that can be done. And that's also, some of the stuff I'm kind of bridging on and bridging into our analytic tool, which obviously, works hand in hand. But you can buy financial statements as a standalone product. And if you really want to get into some analysis, like really detailed relative to the specific sales in CloudSuite distribution, A+, FACS, as well as Sx.e, we have a full suite there where you can do incredible analysis on in sales on that aspect as well. So options, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Choices are always good to have, and options. I don't see any more questions populating at this point. Christine, do you have a contact final closing slide that if people want to reach out to Phocas, how and who to get in touch with you?
Sure. Let me share my screen.
Let me make you presenter, and I'll tell you when I've got you in my site.
All right.
I'll still keep an eye on any questions that might populate at this stage, but wanted to be able to have you share that information.
There we go.
So yeah, as you know, we are pleased to be working with NSA, Central Data, and Action. So if you work with them for whether Sx.e, FACS, A+, etc., you're welcome to contact them. Or you can obviously visit, phocassoftware.com. And then the other thing too that I always want to draw people's attention to, and one of the reasons we do have such a high retention rate, is our PUG, Phocas User Group. You'll probably, if you were at TUG, you saw our dogs, the little pug dogs, but the long and short of it is it's a very, very dynamic site where you get a lot of best practices, tips, tricks, training. We really do, full disclosure, make, as John mentioned earlier, empower you guys and make a lot of tools available to you. And that's on our Phocas User Group site. So we want to thank you for attending. Appreciate the level of questions. And if there is anything more, we'd love to answer any questions. Otherwise, we just want to thank you for your time.
Kristen, Christine, and John, thank you for doing such a wonderful job in your presentation today. We appreciate everyone logging on for this session today of TUG Connects 365, and hope you'll continue to join us for our other robust content we will be sharing. Thanks so much. You did a great job, team. And as they say in Hollywood, that's a wrap.
Thank you.